We're going to look at housing in developing cities and the problems that they face, as well as the solutions that can be put in place. So we're going to focus on Mumbai. We've already had a bit of a look at the kind of conditions from that documentary Slumming It, and we've seen kind of images of real life people living in houses that look very similar to this. So Mumbai, and we're going to focus on the slum of Dharavi. Uh, so hopefully by the end of this lesson you'll be able to describe some of the problems in a developed world city, and we're going to focus on Mumbai. These problems could be part of any developing world city around the world. And then what we're going to hopefully look at is the solutions that can be put in place to tackle these problems and improve the housing for the people in that city. Keep me to move myself. So Dharavi is an informal area of housing in Mumbai. What that means is that it is, or it has been built illegally. All of these houses have been built by the people who live in them. Because it's illegal and informal, the local government or the council could come in and bulldoze every single house at any point they wanted without anything happening. Now, on this, it says Dharavi has a population of 700,000. There is other estimates that Dharavi has about 1 million people in it. The reason that there's estimates is because some of these people will not fill in paperwork, they don't want to be counted, they don't want the government to know where they are or what they're doing. So 700,000 is more than the population of Glasgow. And if you've ever been in Glasgow city centre shopping on a Saturday, you know it's heaving. So this area has more people in Glasgow, but it's actually about the same size as central Livingston. So imagine roughly from kind of Asda to the end of the centre where like Halfords is, that rough size, there is 700,000 people, or possibly 1 million people crammed into that area. So because it's so small and because there's so many people, there's loads of problems that exist. So one of the huge problems is there is only 4 toilets for every 20,000 people. Now just imagine what the toilets must be like. 4 toilets for 20,000 people. You know, think about the school toilets and how bad they are, and then imagine 20,000 people had to use the same toilet. So sanitation and kind of safe sanitation is a huge issue. And a toilet is literally kind of hole in the ground. If you've seen Slumdog Millionaire, you'll know what I'm talking about. So, what are the problems? And I'm going to move myself around as we go. Alright? So, there's a lack of amenities, including kind of clean water, and we've seen that in the documentary Slumming It, where they only had water for a couple hours a day and they had to fill up as many tubs as possible because that water had to last them till the next day. They're hugely illegal houses, so they can be knocked down any time. There's not any kind of safety planning permission. This one's not even got walls here, it's just blue tarpaulins and it's built on top of other houses. It's very much overcrowded. Again, in Slumming It, we've seen there's 21 people living in that house. Because it's so overcrowded, disease spreads easily, so there's not enough kind of space, so people, when they catch the disease, pass it on very, very easily. And all of these houses, or most of these houses, are built using scrap metal. This is metal that's been thrown away because it's no longer of use, and people are being resourceful by taking it and using it to build their house. And then slowly over time, they're adding bits of brick and whatever else they can find to make it more stable. Let's shut myself over here. The risk of flooding or landslides. The reason for that is that the reason for the risk of flooding and landslides is this is built on land that no one else can use. That's swamp land, the side of mountains, the side of hills. Because it's illegal, they don't have to get planning permission and they just build them themselves. But the reason the land is available is because it's very difficult or it's very unsafe to build on. In most areas, there's high unemployment. Not so much a problem in Dharavi because they've got a thriving local economy, but lots of these slum areas, these informal housing areas, have high unemployment. There's a lack of access to services such as street cleaning, people picking up your bins, schools, uh, whatever people need that we take for granted. That we get our bins picked up every second week or every week or whatever it is. That's missing in Darrowby again because it's illegal. So all the rubbish is left lying in the middle of the street or dumped into any water supply. There's a lack of sewage, so there's no proper sewage system, so any waste, human, animal, or otherwise, again goes into the water system. Alright? Which means you could potentially be drinking someone else's curry that they ate 2 nights ago. Well, that makes you feel good. And they're close together narrow streets because it's not been planned, it's been built informally, means that it's very difficult to add these services in because the roads are not designed for cars or bin lorries or anything like that. So it's very, very close together. So it's very, very unsafe and unstable. So what I want you to do is in your OneNote, you have a table like this with the problems down one side. And as we go through the next couple of slides, the next couple of minutes of this video, I want you to add solutions to the table. Alright, I'm going to move myself back to the side. So, there is a Darrowby redevelopment project. So it moves people into modern apartment blocks. So they move from the slum of Darrowby into modern apartment buildings that are purposely built. Buildings have workshops in them and they've got jobs built into them and shops built into them to promote employment. So you could move there, get a new house, and get a new job. What I want you to think about as well is there any problems of that, of moving people into these flats? Alright, so this is what it could look like. Social areas, which are so common in Darrowby, the new flats, which would then house the people of Darrowby. So, you could then build and improve the existing slums with the people that remain in it by upgrading the sewage system, so they've got proper sewage or waste recycling faculty so that everything doesn't go into the same water supply that you may have to drink or wash your clothes from. You can have kind of more public shower blocks and toilet blocks. You could introduce kind of water wells that are on throughout the day so people can access clean water, which would reduce disease such as cholera or tuberculosis, which is easily spread in crowded areas. Now, most of the people in Darrowby are highly skilled. They built their own houses, so they don't just want handouts, they want they want to be able to help themselves. So self-help schemes allow local people to improve their house by making it safer. They can add on an extra floor to reduce overcrowding, so there's more space. And we've seen that in Darrowby. That house had 2 floors on it. Some people are then given legal ownership over the house, so it can't just be taken away from them illegally. So because they own it, they're more likely to invest their money into improving the conditions. Because if they don't own it, it can be taken away. Why would they spend all the money on it and then somebody comes in and bulldozes it? And the last one, is probably one of the best ones, is they're provided with safer, better building materials rather than the scrap metal and the bits and materials that they find lying in the ground or in the dumps that we've seen in slumming. So, next thing I want you to do is have a look at these past paper questions. Very, very similar, so referring to an area you've studied. So name, we're going to talk about Darrowby and Mumbai. Describe different ways shantytowns are being improved. So this question is focusing on the improvements. Alright, for a name set in developed world, describe. So again, names, you have to name it. And describe in detail measures taken to improve conditions. So again, focusing on